Well, it's that time of the week when we go out to the other coast from the East Coast, the West Coast of California, and Michael Snyder and his Culture Blast, movie reviews, and whatever else he has to talk about. Michael?
Hey, I'm calling from Hollywood, California, and I just want to say hello to everybody, and I hope you're in a holiday mood. I'm trying to get there myself, despite the way the world is out there beyond the doors of our little dwellings. But you know what? We've got fantasy, we've got some, kind of biography. We have a lot of interesting film options. Well, let's put it this way. There's a handful of them because a lot of major stuff will drop next week. But shall we get rolling, Mr. Bennett?
Yes, we shall.
Okay, Rogue One, a Star Wars story, opened, I guess, last night, midnight showings perhaps, and it's blockbustery as all get out. The Disney money machine just cranked up a little louder with the release of this first standalone Star Wars movie, one that isn't a specific numbered chapter in the saga, like the recent ballyhooed Episode 7, The Force Awakens, and the coming Episode 8, which I hope won't be titled The Audience Falls Asleep. This one is called Rogue One. And if you know the series and decades of box office receipts and merchandising sales, tell me you do. I mean, I see that Empire Strikes Back lunchbox. I know you got that Jar Jar Binks t-shirt. Anyway, this concerns the way that the rebels get a hold of the plans for the Death Star, a plot point that launched the first Star Wars movie, those many years ago. Of course, that original 1977 film turned out to be Episode 4 in the series, and then the earlier chapters 1, 2, and 3 were eventually released as prequels. All of that makes Rogue One sort of Star Wars Episode 3.9. Okay, spoiler alert, the aforementioned Jar Jar Binks steals the plans for the Death Star and eats them. No, that doesn't really happen. I'm kidding. Rogue One follows the heroine's journey as Jyn Erso, played by Felicity Jones, is recruited by a rebel captain, played by Diego Luna, to steal the plans of the Empire's doomsday planet-eating device, the Death Star, which was designed by Jyn's father, who was played by Mads Mikkelsen, the Great Dane of TV's Hannibal, and also the villain in Casino Royale. Anyway, these two characters, Erso and the captain, are joined by a blind swordsman, and man, Donnie Yen plays the blind swordsman, a Chinese superstar and martial arts guy, and he's maybe my favorite live-action character in this thing, plus his warrior pal, played by Jiang Wen, and a snarky, reprogrammed Empire droid, K-250, voiced by Alan Tudyk. So the droid may be the best thing in this movie, which is basically filled with awesome action scenes, remarkable special effects, and a little heart as well. Fans should love it. It's Easter egg heaven. Some very familiar faces show up. No spoiler there. I thought it was as good, if not a little better, than The Force Awakens, but all these movies have such expectations to live up to. I mean, this may be genuinely spoilery, but I'll tell you this. With 3 scenes, albeit brief ones, Peter Cushing's character, Grand Moff Tarkin, is in this thing. I mean, that's right, the late Peter Cushing. I mean, this is a shoo-in to win the Oscar for Best Performance by a series of ones and zeros. Anyway, there's new blood here. It's directed by Gareth Edwards, who did the recent good Godzilla movie and Monsters, and written by Chris Weitz and Tony Gilroy. And Chris Weitz directed About a Boy and American Pie. These are talented folks, and they obviously love the property, and they do well by it. It's fun. It's, again, like the first Star Wars, a great bargain matinee. Okay, that's the good. Here comes the bad. Sometimes you encounter a movie like Collateral Beauty that, no matter how well-meaning, is so phony and misbegotten that you wonder, well, how the hell did this get made? Oh, wait a minute. It stars Will Smith. That's how it got made. Not just Will Smith. Kate Winslet, Edward Norton. These are big names. They headline a cast in a drama about a man who retreats from life after a tragedy and seeks answers to his big questions about love and time and death. Who else is in this thing with their talent fist away? Helen Mirren and Keira Knightley. There are giant spoonfuls of unabashed sentiment here, and so it seems to have been aimed at the holiday season, but it comes off as so false, so phony that I had to restrain my gag reflex a few times. The talent is in place, but it's wasted on a bunch of treacle. Smith essentially is the core of this thing, and he's in weepy, tremulous mode. He's the co-head of an ad agency who can't deal with this terrible loss, so he goes into what I believe was said to be a 3-year tailspin jeopardizing the company. So his partner, played by Norton, and their colleagues, played by Winslet and Michael Pena, try to stop this thing. In the biggest example of his declining mental state, Smith's character sends these pleading letters to love and time and death, as if they are, real things, real people. So the colleagues do the logical. They hire actors to portray ghostly equivalents to love, time, and death, and then to encounter Smith's character in order to, I don't know what, shock him out of his funk? Yeah, sure, that's what we'd all do. This is ridiculous, it's implausible, and laughable at times in execution. I mean, Smith continues his string of questionable movie choices. There's no chemistry between Norton as the ad exec and Knightley as one of the actors he hires. Winslet and Mirren, the latter is another of the actors, are game, but they're not treated well by the material. I mean, it tries hard. Hey, we're going to make a heartwarming modern American big city Christmas carol. This is not. Collateral Beauty is more like Collateral baloney, and they want to bring you to tears, but instead it's eye rolls and shudders and snickers. Oh, my. Naomi Harris is also in this. She's a great actress and is much better served by her turn in Moonlight, which, unlike this contrived awards bait, is going to rack up Best of the Year kudos, already is getting nominations and awards from the critics. It's going to be in the Oscar discussion, and this is like a sure shot for the Razzies. To just wrap up this screed, even executives at Lifetime and Hallmark Channel might go, no. And the final misery here is the director is David Frankel, who did The Devil Wears Prada and Marley and Me. How the hell did this even get made? That's all I can say. How did it get made? Okay, let's wrap up the new reviews with Neruda. Speaking of Oscar bait, a second unconventional biopic from Chilean director Pablo Larraín is hitting theaters right now around the same time as his film about Jackie Kennedy. And though it may not get the justifiable attention that he and his leading lady in Jackie, Natalie Portman, are getting, Neruda is also a fine piece of movie making that may get attention in the foreign film category. It's about the politically charged hunt for the Nobel Prize-winning Chilean poet and politician Pablo Neruda in the 1940s, when he was a fugitive in Chile because of his membership in the Communist Party and all of his outspoken rabble-rousing. I mean, it's not faithful to the facts, like Jackie, where Larraín used transcripts and recreations to depict Kennedy before, during, and after the assassination of her husband, JFK. Instead, Neruda is told as a mixture of biographical notes and fictional contrivance, in large part done from the point of view of an investigator who is leading the search to find and, I guess, censor or jail Neruda despite the poet's popularity. The investigator, conflicted because of his admiration for Neruda's art and skill, is played by the only familiar face in the cast, the marvelous Mexican leading man Gael Garcia Bernal of TV's Mozart in the Jungle and many renowned Spanish-language movies, including Larraín's cool, politically astute feature No, and Y Tu Mama Tambien, in which, by the way, he co-starred with Diego Luna of Rogue One. So this weekend is, I don't know, Y Tu Mama Tambien reunion. Anyway, Bernal is great, as usual, and though I don't know the previous work of the actor Luis Gnecco, he is wonderful as Neruda, fearful of his possible fate and that of his wife and comrades, but full of life and undaunted. Neruda is definitely a foreign film. I mean, it's subtitled and concerns an artist and provocateur that Americans may not know, but don't let that scare you away from checking it out. It's clever, it's tense, and occasionally pretty funny. There's a lot of wit here. You might want to wait to see it on Netflix, but I thought it was well worth watching. One quick note, Manchester by the Sea, a movie I consider probably the best film of the year, or certainly my favorite movie of the year, is opening wider this weekend. It is a fantastic drama from writer-director Kenneth Lonergan. We've talked about it before. A solitary janitor in Boston has to return to his hometown, a fishing village, to take care of his teenage nephew when the janitor's brother dies. Casey Affleck and Michelle Williams are just absolutely fantastic. This is a wonderful, heartbreaking, and occasionally funny film. So that's opening. A few other movies are opening, but they didn't show us or care to show us. So yeah, screw them. That's all I got to say. What are you watching in video and, and film?
Nothing much. This is pretty well the dead season, so not watching much of anything. So that's it. But that's it.
All right. Well, that wraps it. I kind of I'm looking forward to next week because we're really going to deal with a bunch of major stuff that's coming out, and a few things are being pulled back until January, and they don't want us to talk about them. I won't name names, but the time will come, my friends, when you will hear my opinion here on GABNet and Roku. You can check me out on Twitter at Culture Blaster, and certainly on Facebook at the Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page. See you next week, Pat.
Okay, we'll see you next week. And that's it for this week. And if you just stay right where you are, there's more GABNet coming right up.